Welcome to the Blades and Bloodlines podcast. I'm Aidan, a 7th generation barber, carrying on my family's legacy in our 3rd generation shop, a fixture in our community since 1978. This podcast is about more than cuts and trims. It's about connecting with people who have incredible stories, fascinating careers, and vital perspectives to share. Every episode encapsulates an authentic barbershop experience, a bastion of free speech, likes of which you've never seen, and flows into a meaningful conversation, one that might just change how you see the world. So pull up a chair, sharpen your mind, and join the conversation. And remember, soon you won't be able to say anything. So while you have the opportunity to say something, say something. Ahmed, I really appreciate you being here, coming all the way from out west to be here to chat with me. Before we dive in, just give everyone listening a little bit of a rundown of what it is that you do, what you're involved in, and how it is that you help others, just quickly.
Yeah, so name's Ahmed. I created Beast Mastery.
Mm-hmm.
Beast Mastery is just to master the beast inside. But for me, people say beast and they think of something evil or something. The beast is God. Mm-hmm. We all have a piece of God inside of us that we need to master.
Absolutely.
So I just help them mentally, physically, and spiritually master that.
And one can only do that, I believe, only if they've gone through the crucible themselves, which is the boiling furnace which shapes someone through suffering and adversity. And before we start, I want to start with a quote. I want to get your thoughts on it. It's from Romans chapter 5, 3 verse 4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. What are your thoughts on that? Considering what you've been through and what you're about to tell us about your upbringing.
Well, if you think about suffering and why they're rejoicing in it, because it leads to faith.
Mm-hmm. I
get to suffer for a bigger purpose that gives me more faith. So more belief in God.
Mm-hmm.
And just like they said, they shapes us into a better person. They have more faith there. Like if you've got an easy life, it's going to be very hard to have faith.
Of course.
You know, you're going to see the physical and just think this is it. You're not going to worry about an afterlife. You're not going to worry about something else spiritual after here. So you'll go down the wrong path.
Of course.
Yeah.
And being involved in what you are involved in with mindset coaching and molding the beast inside. So how does one get to that point? What was it in your early childhood that shaped that journey for you?
So I went through a lot of trauma as a kid. I saw my mum get beat a lot. I had a very abusive dad, and she came from Lebanon, so she hardly speak English and all that.
Okay.
She had nowhere to go. Most of her family is back overseas, so she was just stuck, you know. She wasn't brave enough to leave. When she did get brave enough to leave, she eventually left, but we went through over a decade of just trauma.
That's you and your siblings?
Me and my siblings, yeah. And my mum. My mum copped it a lot, trying to protect us.
And so what's running through your head when you're at home and you're seeing this happening? Are you having feelings of inadequacy in yourself? Are you feeling like it's your fault that this is going on? Are you aware that this is shaping you for something? Or what's... Because I'm not even emancipated. I'm completely... This is walking into the unknown for me, because this was not my reality at all. So it fills me with a little bit of not sorrow, but intrigue, because I feel like having to hear this now puts me in a vulnerable position talking to you. And it makes me wonder what is going through your head when this is happening at such a young age.
I just remember a lot of fear.
A lot of fear?
A lot of fear. Just like I was too scared to talk. I also think that's why I kind of have a soft voice. I was literally too scared to talk as a kid. And just a lot of fear, like just paralyzing fear, like just want to freeze and not do nothing. I did start stepping up and becoming a protector because I never wanted my sisters to get hit, and me protecting would just be like me screaming, but then I'd get hit and they would still get hit. And every time I saw my mum get beat, I always wanted to help her, but you can't do much as a kid. You know, you're a little kid. All you can do is raise your voice.
So how old are you when this is at its zenith of this abuse? Are you quite young, like 7, 8?
No. So from 3, I remember
From 3.
wanting to save my mum.
Okay.
I remember a scene that I can still, I'm flashing it in my mind right now. It's like she was on the couch getting beat, and there's like a little corridor right here, and I'm just in the corridor just screaming out, like trying to reach my mum. But yeah, we saw a lot. We saw a lot.
And so how did that affect the relationship with your siblings? Did that make you guys, that bond between you guys, unbreakable? Did you share in that suffering? Did that become the common theme in your relationship that drew you guys close? Or do you try and emancipate yourself from that and find other things?
I mean, as I was younger, because I was the protector, I grew very close with my sisters. I've got 2 sisters, so I grew very close with them. And always being the protective brother. My other brother, he took it a different way. He didn't really form to try and get closer to us because he was the oldest. He was now the bully.
Okay.
So I was getting beat by my dad and then beat by my brother.
Okay.
And just
Incredible to hear. And when you look back and you look at your dad, is your dad still with us?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
How is your relationship with him now? Do you find it in yourself to be able to forgive, or do you try to dissect what he might have been going through in his life, or what his demons were? Or do you think growing up in that environment, it's inexcusable regardless? Have you come to peace with it in a sense?
Yeah, so I didn't speak to him for 17 years.
It's a very long time not to speak to someone. It's incredible.
And I went down like a healing journey of my own, and eventually I done this DMT breath work, but there was no DMT, it's just natural release.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah.
Some breathing in a particular frequency in a certain level of meditation can release it itself. Yeah.
So I done that, and
did you achieve that state as well?
I achieved I went out of space. I went somewhere where no time, no space.
Astral projected.
Yeah, existed. My whole life flashed literally between my eyes, and just I saw how we were all connected, and I saw how everyone played a part to get to where I am now. And then after that, bro, I was just like, this is stupid, holding on to this grudge. Like I've known that not forgiving someone only hurts you.
Of course.
I've known that, but I still couldn't come to forgive him. And then after I done that breath work, I was just like, you know what? It's stupid. Like, let me forgive him.
Of course. And was that a moment, a big thing, or was that just internally inside you, that forgiveness, or was there an embrace?
So it was internal first.
Okay.
And then I wanted to steal it. So I called him out of nowhere, and he didn't even recognize my voice.
Oh, really?
He was like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "It's your son." And then I just spoke to him, just normal. I didn't say I want forgiveness or I forgive you or nothing. I just spoke to him like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And that was it. And
what was his reaction to that? Do you think he had come to the realization himself?
He was sleeping. He was sleeping, and he was like, okay. I was like, I got work tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. I was like, okay.
Did that call come? No. Okay.
But also, I didn't call him.
Okay.
So I forgive him, and I love him unconditionally, as I love everyone else unconditionally. But yeah, you gotta understand energy.
Of course.
You know what I mean? If I talk to him every day, that energy is going to be around me.
Yeah.
I don't need that for me and my family.
No, I understand. You have to surround yourself with people that are going to elevate you. That's textbook Marcus Aurelius. That's a textbook Stoic principle. But in terms of where you are now in the story, so you've come into your adolescent years, did that original abusive environment then foster a culture of self-destruction?
Yeah, so I got addicted to heroin ice, everything. I was a big alcoholic. I loved just acting gangster, being a criminal. You know, that
Did,
thrill, the
did that
adrenaline.
vibration draw those people to you? Or did you
Yeah.
seek them out, or did they seem to find you?
Nah, nah. It was I think as like you're going through that teenage years, I don't know. Probably growing in the West, I think it's not hard to find.
Yeah.
It's really not. It seems like it's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if it was they were just drawn to me, but when you look around in the West, it's kind of everywhere.
It's still kind of got that culture about it, doesn't it?
It's people think they're gangster. People think it's cool. Like
Yeah, we still get a lot of guys coming to this area now that, for whatever reason, seem to be trying to emulate this British roadman kind of thing. And we got a couple of them in DY here. They like to rip off all the tobacconists,
Yeah.
and they'll put their puffers way up and put the buffs on. And I just kind of look at them and I think, this is ridiculous, because I grew up in this area, born and bred, and there is a certain, not level of privilege, but most people growing up here do have a very base level of comfort that a lot of people might not have. And I don't understand why love, affection, and comfort can then make you want to go and seek out a very low vibrational existence, or emulating something that people from an impoverished background in another country have developed. So I never quite understood that. But what was the first time that needle hit your
so I always smoked it.
Oh, you always smoked it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
always smoked it.
I didn't even realize you could smoke it.
Yeah. The first time I didn't even know it was heroin.
Okay.
So my mate gave me some weed, and then he put the white powder on top, and I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Just snow cone." I didn't know, because I'm like, okay, and it was the first time trying weed, so I'm like, okay, I'm guessing like this is what they do.
Of course.
And then I tried it, and then I liked it, and then done more and more, and then led to a lot of ways to try and just support my habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of bad things in life, but I was very, very grateful and honored to be able to hear God's voice in the midst of hell.
That's powerful. Do you recall the moment
Yeah.
that you originally felt that light? Did that maybe have something to do with maybe your partner, your wife, acting as a conduit for God's warmth, sticking by you through this time as well? If she did.
Yes,
Did you know her at that stage?
Yes, I've been with her for 14 and a half years.
Well, okay.
She got the end of that state.
Okay.
So she played a big part in keeping me stable.
Right.
She really did. Otherwise, I don't know how stable I'll be. But yeah, I was awake for 9 days once, and then I got locked up. And when I got locked up, I was like, they put me in the holding cell, and I just remember, like, I jumped in the holding cell. I was still standing up, and I was facing the wall. And it's not like this big. I'm just facing the wall, standing up. And then when I went in there, it kind of felt like the same time as the DMT, where time just disappeared. And I just hear this voice just come straight down. You've had enough suffering.
Okay.
That's all it said. It didn't say you've had enough suffering, stop all this. It just said, you've had enough suffering. And I got the message. And then from there, I just decided to stop everything. My wife spoke to me when I was inside, and she's like, you can choose me, or you can choose your drugs and your crime. And I'm like, I choose you. Like, this is perfect timing. You know what I mean? So
it's amazing how it all falls in your lap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, providence work is very interesting when it works in that respect. But when you're in the holding cell and you're looking at your own reflection and you're hearing God's voice in your head, do you then at some point think, I understand now why I went through all this? Do you feel like without that initial journey, you couldn't have been the beast master Ahmed you are today? Like, you wouldn't trade it for anything. That's part of your identity now. You'd be a different person if it didn't happen that way.
you know, I wouldn't trade it. At that time I didn't understand.
Which
At
is so
that time,
common not to anyway.
yeah. So at that time I was just like thinking, okay, like what now? You know what I mean? Like, what do I do now? That's not my life no more. I thought that was going to be my life for the rest of my life. You know, I thought I was going to be dead or in jail,
Of course.
and that's it.
So you seem to be at this point a vessel that's just thirsty for purpose and something deeper, and so you found that purpose, you found that deeper meaning in your wife. Do you have a profession at all, like a job or a trade at this time? Like, do you have any skills?
Yeah. I got a lot of skills, but
Yeah.
right now what I'm doing is coaching, and I
Yeah.
do social media marketing.
Yeah.
I just hired a editor to help with that too. I got a clothing brand that it's still really small, the clothing brand, but that's more why I started that, was to help inspire people, like spread the message.
Yeah.
I got someone working on that, selling that. So yeah, I'm just in a
When you were in that stage at rock bottom, was it just kind of living fast, just drugs and debauchery, or there was no work or anything?
there was no.
Well, I don't understand awake for 9 days how you could
No,
do
no,
anything.
yeah, no. In that stage there was just I was literally in that life. There was nothing else. I literally thought, I knew my outcome was death or locked up.
Wow.
I knew that.
And then now that you've overcome that hurdle, that part of your journey was over. So then how did you fill yourself with purpose before you got into everything you're doing now? So are you religious?
Yeah, I'm religious. But also my purpose comes from when I was 3.
Yeah.
So that wanting to save my mum,
Mm-hmm.
and then being the protector for my sisters, that there has always stuck with me. My middle name is Isa. So for us, for Muslims, I left Islam actually, but for Muslims, Isa is Jesus, prophet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was named after, with the intent of being named
So
after
in
Jesus.
the Quran, is that how he's referred to?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've always known that, and my mum, I always have this memory of my mum just saying like, you're named after Prophet Isa, like you're special, and I've always had that connection to him. So I think that purpose of mine just showed itself, like you had to go through all this suffering to find your purpose, that you want to help people and you want to change the world, to now what I'm doing.
Of course. And are you obviously very close with your mum still? Like, is that every Sunday you visit without fail? What's the relationship like now?
Now I'm getting a lot busy, but
Okay.
without fail, every day is a phone call.
Every day's a phone
Yeah,
call?
and if I don't call her, she's like, "Why didn't you call me?" I'm like, "I'm busy, mom. I'm
Of course.
busy."
You're grinding away,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so did you grow up in Islam?
Yeah.
Okay. And was your family practicing? Were you practicing at one stage?
Oh yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
dad was very, very religious, and I'm like, "How are you so religious and you're so evil?"
Well, this is, I find, one of the real, not stereotypes, but here in the West, this is how I feel a lot of people view a lot of Islamic people that adhere to Islam, is that they're up on their high horse, but at the same time, they're chopping down up on that horse the people that are around them. So
Yeah.
as you said, how could you follow? And I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about the Quran and what it says, but there is one surah passage that I remember hearing. I was watching a documentary about Iran, and on one of the buildings it had a passage from the Quran which said, one of the best gifts you could bestow upon a friend is a gift of good advice. And I said, you know what, like, that's beautiful. And to be quite honest with you, that's stuck with me a lot since I watched it. It was maybe over a decade ago I watched that. And every single time someone comes into my life that needs advice, I think back on it and say, like, that's so true. But drawing those correlations between fundamental Muslims and domestic violence, do you find that that's a very extreme example, or is it rife in the community where you grew up amongst the Islamic people out there?
No, it's pretty much normal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And that it's not really specific to like Sunni Shia or a certain country,
No,
it's
no,
just in general?
It's just in general,
Okay.
you know. Yeah.
were a lot of your people in your community growing up kind of going through that same thing?
Yeah, a lot of abuse, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Heaps of. But see, there's the nice little smack on the bum or something, or smack on the hand or something, to set you straight and discipline you. But they take it too far sometimes.
Okay. And I
A
know
lot of-
I can't speak specifically as it being a Muslim thing, because I already know, obviously coming from a family of Italians, a family of practicing Christians, that I already know that my mum's grandfather was heavy-handed with my great grandmother, and
Yeah.
my grandfather with my now deceased grandmother. So as much as it is maybe an older generation thing, it's just, I think, inexcusable regardless of if it's
Yeah.
coming from a faith aspect or not. But you now adhere to Christian teachings, your
Yeah, Christianity, but
Christianity,
Jesus.
Jesus, so not Old Testament, nothing like that. It's just because I am more very New Testament myself, just
Yeah.
teachings of Jesus, how his lessons can then raise your vibration to be. And when I hear a lot of people saying, or when the scriptures say spread the gospel, and I see people taking it literally, I feel like, from my experience, spreading the gospel literally is not the way it's meant to be intended. I feel like when you're actively living the principles in your life, internally and externally, your vibration and your frequency raises. So instead of me saying, hey, have you read the good book? It's more, gee, why is Ahmed acting the way he's acting? Because I'm drawn to him. There's something about him that's positive. What is it that you do? What practices do you put in place every morning? What's your routine? Scripture. That's where I
Yeah.
get it from. So that, I feel like, is what spreading it is. It's spreading the vibration and energy, not the physical spreading. Would you agree with that, or do you think it's literal? Spreading the gospel is a literal thing.
I think you have to spread the word,
Okay.
not to the extent of like just
Missionary kind of.
yeah, you don't have to do that, you know what I mean? But the best way to spread the word is what you just said.
Living it.
You live it,
Yeah.
and they get drawn to you, and then they question you like, hey, what are you doing? That's it. If I go out there and I'm a fat trainer, let's say, and I say, hey, stop eating that junk food, you gotta lose some weight, and they're looking at me and I'm a fat trainer,
Yeah.
what's that gonna do?
Oh, it's gonna very much damage your credibility as a trainer, because you're obviously not living by the principles that you're preaching.
That's it.
And when you left Islam, or when you decided that it wasn't the faith or it wasn't the right doctrine to live by, was there a little bit of backlash from your circle, or like, are your siblings still practicing? Does your mum still cover up and wear the hijab? Does she?
Yeah.
Not, don't want to dwell on it too much, but I feel like for a lot of people watching that maybe are Christians that don't know much about Islam, or only have the Western perception, which is very warped in bias. Was that a big thing for you, or for the people around you? Like, what goes through your head when you're leaving one big monotheistic faith for the other, despite it being Abrahamic in tradition as well?
Yeah, so telling my mum, I created this fear in my head for about 5 weeks.
Okay.
And I told her, and it was like nothing. It was literally like nothing. It was like she looked at me, she's like, don't tell me this now. And she kind of drove off, and then she called me, she was like, just don't tell no one. I'm like, nah, sorry, mama. But she still calls me every day. So I don't call her. She's like, why don't you call me? You know what I mean? So nothing's changed.
Not really, no.
You know what I mean? Still the exact same. But leading up to it, I created a massive fear in my head that just disappeared like that the second I done it.
So you manifested a reality that wasn't quite real yet.
Yeah.
And as soon as you got to the end point, you realize that, well, what is it? Was it Marcus Aurelius, I think? No, Seneca, or one of those guys, Socrates, we suffer more in our imaginations than in reality.
Yeah.
And that definitely rung true there with you.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you now, yeah, that's true.
Big
It's
time.
like, look at fear. Fictional emotions appearing real.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it's all
it's in the name.
100%. You're creating your reality with that for sure. So where are we now with you? So you've gone through all this pain and suffering, and now you're blessed with children, your wife, you're on a very positive path. So what is it about what you do now with the Beast Mastery? So how has that come about, and what is it about doing that you get so much purpose out of?
So my mission has honestly always been to change the world. And you know, when I say I want to change the world like Jesus, there used to always be this little voice inside me, but I'm gonna do it better than him. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it better than him. And I don't know too much about Christianity, like word for word, because I'm still learning. Because it's been 6 weeks now since I gave my heart to Jesus.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
fairly new for you then.
Very new.
Well, as someone
Right.
that grew up before you start with all the sacraments and grew up in a culture that is quite heavily influenced by Christianity itself, in Italy for sure. The sacraments and the grandeur of churches doesn't mean anything. Most people that wear crosses, that go to church, that done the sacraments, they're not all good people at all. And when people say you got to read the Bible, you got to read the Bible, you got to understand the Bible, I would say someone that's just come to the faith, I would say, you know what, I'd say don't bother, because you're going to read it, you're not going to understand any of it. A lot of it's written like Shakespeare. You'll read it and be like, what does this mean? What I always recommend that you do is you find 2 or 3 good commentators and you read their commentaries on all the different gospels, for then you have perspective, then you have the translations, the proper translations. So when I feel a lot of Christians now are like, no, you got to know your Bible. I said, well, what do you know? You read it and you won't know anything because it's difficult to grasp. And if it's not for those commentators, those scholars, I feel like a lot of people would be lost in scripture now. And you're 6 weeks in. So how is that journey for you now? Are you doing Bible study? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are helping you with that journey?
Yeah. So every morning I pick up my Bible and I read it. It is very hard to understand.
Yeah.
But with that, I understand what I need to understand at like my point right now. So that's why I still pick it up and read it, and I still get the messages that I need to. I am in a men's group. My mate Tane, he started that, so it's a men's group, more about just supporting people. A lot of us are Christians there, but it's not for just Christians. It's open for everybody, so we can help and support you. You know what I mean? So I'm surrounded with that. I'm surrounded with really good Christian boys that, like you said, they don't wear a cross and go to church just because they're living it.
Of course,
So
absolutely. And when I say I wear on my chest gold cross all the time, the materials are relevant, but it's because I've been quite open with you now on some of the struggles I've been through, and just to have it on me and to have icons around me of saints and of Jesus and of Mary is a constant reminder of who you're trying to emulate through this and what your path is. And that's what it is. It's a reminder. But then having said that, as though I have pagan imagery on my necklace as well. I have an evil eye.
Yeah.
I have a corno, which is an Italian amulet, which is meant to keep away the evil wishes that others will bestow upon you. So if I was to walk down the street and someone was to be offended or not like the way I'm looking or the way I'm dressed, and they cast what's called malocchio, which is Italian for evil eye, they cast it onto you, which is their ill thoughts. That amulet is supposed to protect you.
Yeah.
And just like in Italian culture, those pagan kind of things are now fused inextricably with Christianity.
Yeah.
My wife's Mexican, and that is so true of their culture, how their Aztec beliefs have fused with Christianity in that country. It's quite amazing. It's why I love going there. But it even says in scripture that you're not going to find God in the churches. You don't find me in the grandeur of that. And I feel like a lot of people have kind of strayed a bit from the core teachings, the raw teachings of Jesus, and now they're trying to find purpose in the big churches, all the ceremony. They love going to church because they love to be seen in church, but the scripture is very clear by saying when you pray, close your door, do it in private. The fact that you have to be seen praying is like the Pharisees in the temple that stand up to be seen by everyone. He immediately says that you shouldn't do that, and I know that you know that. So you're in the men's group. You're working with the Beast Mastery. What is it about the people you encounter, especially the young people that are seeking your wisdom to help them get through tough times? What is it about young men now, do you think, that they're missing? Is there a bit of a hole in young men, or is their masculinity waning at the moment? What is it they need?
They have no self-esteem.
Okay.
That's the root of kind of like almost everything, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you don't see your worth and your value, now you want validation from elsewhere.
Before you continue, I just quickly have to touch on something. I'm a barber. I find a lot of young men now. Look, everyone's always been into style, into haircuts, into this and that. It's just a part of culture and of trends. But I see a lot of young guys now that are literally just basing their whole personality on what their haircut is, their fade. I said, well, what do you get the skin fade for? Because it doesn't really work on your hair. Well, because, it's skin fade. It's what people get now. And I think, is there anything else going for you other than this haircut? And that's just sorry to cut you off, but that's what that reminded me of, the correlation between my job and seeing young dudes that'll just sit there, get their haircut and just be blank. I really enjoy conversations like this when I cut hair, and I always try and attract those people. But that's what I notice in my job. But yours would be quite similar too, as you were saying.
Yeah, so self-esteem is a big one. And they want someone to give them validation, like an older brother or a dad or something. They wanna know they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So the best way to kind of do that is start teaching them discipline.
Yeah.
And discipline, discipline kind of solves everything.
I agree.
Like, you be disciplined, you trust yourself. Now you find some worth. Now you love yourself more. You respect yourself more. Your vibration raises.
Absolutely.
And it just continues. You know what I mean? You don't look for happiness elsewhere.
Well, you're not going to find it in material things like a haircut or anything like that, because the worship of material things just tethers your soul to the earth, which some people will tell you is tethering your soul to hell. And that's what materialism is. But I love what you said there about discipline. I feel like a lot of people muddle the lines between discipline and motivation. Feel motivation will come and go all the time, but discipline will always be there. I have this really funny metaphor that comes to mind when I think of that, is if you think of motivation as your pants, discipline as your underpants. So can you walk around in your underpants? I guess you could. That's your discipline. Without your pants, without your motivation, you can pants on some time, every now and again. Doesn't matter. As long as you got your underpants on, you got your discipline. But to walk around with none of it on is ludicrous. You have to have one or the other. And that's the thing. It's a very, very silly analogy, but it's the best way. I've been thinking of it for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I would never walk around without underwear. Yeah. You've always got to have your discipline. Motivation will come and go. So you put a lot of emphasis on discipline to your clients or the people that come and see you?
Yeah.
Is that the main principle that you say to them, is you have to have your routine?
No, so the routine is a must.
Yeah.
Discipline is a must. But then I'll give them the disciplines, and I'll give them the workouts and teach them the nutrition, and see what they're going through and help them through what they're going through and all that. So everyone's going to be a little bit different, but discipline is a must.
It's a must.
Yeah.
And how do you recommend that they practice it? Even if it's something as simple as every morning 5-minute breath work, doesn't matter how tired you are, do it.
No, they want to see. So you want to see that you're a winner.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this happened to me because I used to do this thing, and it was like I had a Google spreadsheet.
Yep.
And the Google spreadsheet, I would have all my disciplines, and I would tick them green as I'd done it every single day, and every time I would feel like I missed a discipline and I'm a loser or something, I look back and I have like thousands of green boxes, and just remember like, oh, I am a winner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's all about the reprogramming. So if you can see it, if you can see the spreadsheet and the ticks and all that stuff, and you're a winner, but you start small and then you eventually get more and more. And it's catered to your goals.
Yep.
So for me, I want to be an all-round beast.
Yep.
I have 33 disciplines that are catered to me.
Interesting.
You're not going to have 33 disciplines.
Of course, that's very much specific to you and what you've been through.
Yeah.
But for someone like me that maybe hasn't been through that, I would have a lot less. But having said that, I noticed on your Instagram, doing a little deep dive and following what you do, you were recently out with the homeless, out with the downtrodden amongst Sydney.
Yeah.
So when you look out into the city, you go into town, me personally, not that it's anything compared to what you were doing, but my missus and I went into the city. We stayed in a hotel in Martin Place to kind of rekindle that. Because having a couple kids in that, me having my issues with my health and struggling to sleep a little bit, it kind of wears on her.
No.
When you described how your wife was standing by you, I immediately thought of mine. Because when I was getting diagnosed with my illness and when I had to go on heavy medication, there were so many times where she said, I wanted to leave, but we're married and you need me as long as you keep your emotions in check. Don't project on me. And I said, when you were talking about your wife, it reminded me very much of mine. And we went into St. Mary's Cathedral, went for a walk. We went to St. Mary's Cathedral. We went in there, we said some words. I came back through the plaza, went back past the Centrepoint Tower and saw a man begging, a young dude, probably a little bit older than me. I went and bought him some food and said, mate, have something to eat. He looked up at me and I didn't gaze at him for too long, but could just see that if this is the one moment for him that's going to help nourish his next move, then I'm glad I could be of service. But the one thing that gave me the shits was I didn't want there to be so many people around to watch. But to be honest, I don't think anyone really noticed, which is good because I don't like it when they do, because it's not what it's for. I just saw it. I come out of a church and I said, you know what? Like, I won't give this man money, but I'll give him food. I think that says a lot more than giving money, because I don't like giving money. I prefer food or something like that. But where I'm trying to go with it is when you look out onto the city and you see these people, what is it that you think when you go out and help them? Or what were you doing that day?
I just see they need that light for the day. Like, I will stop and talk to them. So I was at an event one time, in the city, and I stopped on my break and I was talking to two homeless guys for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I go back in and a lady's like to me, "You're a really nice guy. Like, we walked straight past him and we see you just like talking to him." I'm like, "Yeah, what do you mean? They're human.
Of course.
Like, what's the difference between me and them?" I see no difference. I just see someone that needs help, someone that needs that light for the day. Do you know what I mean? Even if we just have to entertain them and listen to crap for 20 minutes and they're spinning and they're lying and you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Just entertain them. Just
Of course.
sit there. I'm that light for that day that gave them some extra hope. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's all it is for me.
And so were you clothing them or giving them food or just get an ear to listen, to speak to?
Yeah, no, so gave them clothes, but I started a charity a little while ago, about maybe less than a year now. And me and my family used to just cook for them and just go hand out food.
Amazing.
I had a butcher that would always give us free meat for them. Another grocery that would just give us free food for them and just cook and just go give to them. Like, it's one of my things that I want to do in life. I always thought like I'm going to wait until I'm a millionaire before I start a charity, but you start now.
Absolutely. When you see these downtrodden people, do you ever think to yourself, what if this person here was Christ himself? Do you ever kind of think along those lines, as in I could walk past this guy, but what if it turns out that this was him begging there and I just walked past him? Because then you can kind of see that when you see all those people, you kind of want to buy them all something to eat. But how do you then separate doing good work for them, and then do you ever say buy them food or give them clothes and then they seem so ungrateful? Does it ever give you doubt that, oh, why am I doing this? That they don't even appreciate it?
No.
Because I remember when I was in the US, this black homeless guy was not even wearing any shirt. It was very hot, but just raggedy jeans, no shirt. And he's like, "Hey, yo, give me some water." And I'm like, "Okay, so, give me something to drink," he said. And so I had a bottle. So here, he goes, "Do it away. I want juice." And I said to him, "You know what? You can have fucking nothing."
Yeah.
And that for a long time really made me ignore that downtrodden, because I just kind of then had this feeling that, what am I going to spend money on these people that don't even appreciate it? So how do you then navigate when they do that? Do you just remember that you're doing the Lord's work, and regardless of how they react to it, it's as long as you feel good inside?
No, I don't even think I'm doing the Lord's word when I'm doing it, bro. I'm just doing it because they're just like me.
Of course.
Like when I done the DMT breathwork,
Yep.
and I told you like my whole life flashed between my eyes, yeah. So like random strangers that had a piece in my life, yeah. Everyone's got a piece in your life.
Yep.
Every stranger that you walk past. But then I also saw how we're all connected. And it was kind of like I think the best way to kind of explain this is like a string theory kind of thing. Like we've all got a string that's attached to us and it's the same light that's all attached. And so I got it to you, I got it to Nick.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all just the same thing.
Yep.
And I know that. So if someone's been an asshole to me, I don't care. I'm not doing it.
You're very indifferent to it.
Yeah, like I just see a program like, hey, he's an asshole. Okay, what's his life like? He's on the streets. It's going to be an asshole. It's a defense mechanism.
So have you then done a lot of honing in on keeping your ego in check with these things? How have you found that challenge? Because I know that every man deals with having to subdue that fire within them that just wants to come out as their ego, to portray to people how they want to be portrayed, but being very inauthentic at the same time. Ego is a very hard thing to define.
So
how have you defined it in your life?
A little while ago, actually, I let go of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
I used to write on my Instagram stories, Ahmed is just a story, or Ahmed is dead, and I let go and detached completely from my identity. And because, like, what are we? Like, what's Ahmed? What's Aidan? Your parent gave you that name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are you? Do you know who you are? Like, we're nothing at the end of the day. So just detach from it. And I detached from everything. And honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done, really. Like,
The weight off your shoulders.
yeah, like, so what? Someone's been an arsehole, so what? So what? What's that got to do with you?
No, Marcus Aurelius had a very clever way of dealing with those people when he says, paraphrasing more or less, if someone is giving that energy to you or they're behaving like that, then get out of their way. In terms of, don't try and take it to heart or change the way he's thinking. Just let him do it. It's his problem. Just get out of his way. And that's been a big one for me, especially since not everyone I meet in my job is pleasant. I'll give you that, because here you're working with something that's very personal to people. It's their hair, it's their appearance. And when you have people that are taking it way too seriously, all of a sudden you start thinking, like, I'm in a job that indulges this real vanity in people, but you have to put that aside because it's a minority, and you realize how many people I've helped in here, how many people I've met, networked with, and many kids that might have been on a bad path that I said, hey man, like, you don't need to deal with this. Just yesterday, we had a busy Saturday, and a kid comes in, he wanted a taper fade, but fair enough, he's a young kid, he's keeping up with trends. But his mum comes up to him and says to him, and I'm standing right there, I can hear her. She says, do you want to tell the barber to perhaps not make your head look like such a bowl? Because he had really straight hair, like bowl cut kind of hair. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, I can hear what you're saying. Why don't you just tell me? But anyway, but I could see this kid was like, yeah, I just don't want to look like a bowl because other kids are making fun of me at school because my hair's like a bowl. And I said, well, look, I'm going to taper the sides, I'm going to taper the back, I'm going to texture the shit out of your hair, I'm going to chop into the fringe, your hair will not look like a bowl. And I said, between you and me, you got two options. You can listen to the kids at school, or you can grow thick skin. And the mum was like, you hear that, son? Like, he told you. Like, because I feel like you can't get that from women. Another man has to bestow that upon you. And I said to him, look, buddy, the other kids at school are losers. I said, other kids are the reason why I want to homeschool my kids. And I saw his ears go up. And when I looked in the mirror, he was smiling, almost like that one little thing, mate, the kids that call you this are losers. It's just like something so simple, but he needed to hear it. This kid was like 9. It made me feel really good. But as I say to those kids, and I imagine as you'd say to your clients, you got to keep yourself accountable. You can't let that kind of stuff degrade your self-worth. So when it comes to keeping accountable, because obviously you're not perfect. You're a work in progress, as we all are. We're all being molded in the forge at the moment. But how do you keep yourself accountable when you feel like you're in the whirlpool And yeah, you have to swim to the edge, but you can't. You're in that little hole. How is it that you keep yourself accountable?
I just surrender, bro.
So yeah, this is something I very much need to
I
work
just
on.
surrender, bro. Just there's no need to worry about nothing. If you got faith, you know God's got you.
Yep.
What's the issue?
I've been thinking and reflecting on that through the many nights where I've had trouble sleeping, and I will try to relate it back to my illness, the medication that messed with my head all those years ago when I first got diagnosed. But I know deep down that each heart will know its own bitterness, and you know that when you're lying, and I know that they're excuses. I know that I'm caught in a perpetual cycle and I'm in a progress of breaking through with it, but for some reason I'm just not there yet.
Do you believe in Jesus heals? Yeah. It doesn't matter how small, how big. Could be
No.
like a little cut. Could be something small. Could be cancer. Could be anything. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So can I tell you my healing?
Please.
Okay. So I was in church for the second time,
Yep.
and this was just like I just went to church because I just wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
Didn't give my heart yet. And then the guy on stage, the pastor on stage, Pastor Oral, he was like, "Everyone, let's close our eyes and let's do a prayer." So I closed my eyes and he's praying and he's like, "If anyone wants to give their heart to Jesus, put your hand up now." And I had shoulder pain here, and I wasn't going to go to church, but I'm like, because I'm disciplined, I'm like, I'm just going to go. I already said I'm going to go, I'm going to go. I had shoulder pain here. And when my eyes is closed, it's like this. I get this big burn in my shoulder. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what's this? Like, what do you want? Why are you burning? It's like, put your hand up. I'm like, what do you mean, put my hand up? I'm like, you know what we're going to do? Like, I was Muslim, and this is a big thing. It's like, put your hand up. Put my hand up. Pain went away. Burn went away instantly.
Mm-hmm.
That there, Jesus healed. That's how I know this is where I'm meant to be. Otherwise, I'm too logical. Otherwise, I'll just be like, nah, you know what? I'm not gonna do it because I need to learn more, or I don't know nothing, or this or that or this. God's like, Jesus is like to me, I'm gonna show you. Cup of massive burn on my shoulder.
And then where's your
Put your
head at
hand
when that pain's gone and your arm goes up? What's flooding through your mind then?
See, I was in shock, not a bad way, but I was surprised because I'm open.
Yeah.
I'm open to
Anything's possible in this realm.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm open to this, but I hadn't processed it until after. And this is the funny thing, yeah. So I leave church, I get on the phone to my wife. I haven't told her. She's like, the first thing she says to me, the kids are so happy for some reason. The kids are really, really, like more than usual, they're so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll tell you maybe what it is when I get home. And they say like, when you give your heart to the Lord, the angels are rejoicing. Kids are pure. So the angels inside of them are rejoicing. They can feel that this is the right thing.
Yep.
I got home and then I tell her, and she's like, she's not Christian, but she's like, I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm proud of you.
Does she attend church with you and the kids?
No, the kids come now.
Kids come, but she can't, or she doesn't want to.
Yeah, she hasn't felt the calling yet.
Is she from the same religious background as you as well?
No,
or?
she's Vietnamese.
Oh, interesting.
But she grew up with no.
There is a Catholicism aspect of Vietnam, I know from colonial times, but she's not. She hasn't felt the pull yet.
Yeah, she didn't. She grew up with like her parents didn't teach her. Like her mum didn't teach her nothing. Her mum didn't mention the word God or nothing.
Okay.
Very interesting actually. Like my wife has a tattoo in Chinese and it says God, and she's never. She's like never thought of God. She never, you know what I mean. She's like, I don't know why I got this either. So
Interesting.
I mean, like, I know my wife. She always comes around. She always follows. Like, she always follows me. It's just her time. It's no insistence. No, and even if she doesn't, I'm like, hey, no, I don't care. I love you no matter what.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, she'll passively, I think, when you're radiating that goodness from your experiences there, it rubs off anyway. Because when we walk around, especially for me when I left St. Mary's Cathedral that time and then fed that homeless man, I wasn't doing that with any type of, I guess, permission or calling from scripture to do it. I just wanted to do it. As you said, from a human level, he's just like me. It's not that I just came out of church and felt like I had to prove myself. It was no, I saw a guy that was hungry. I walked past him when I went into the church and I said, you know what? I said to my missus, when I come out, I'm going to feed that guy. Because even before we had the thought of going in just to get in there and sit and reflect for a little bit, I wanted to do it anyway. So I'm thinking to myself then, if I was to then come to you and say, Ahmed, look, I'm going through this, and I'll be, say it on camera, imagine that I'm opposite you and I've come to you and I've said I'm battling with an illness that's more or less taken over my life, that's been, in the spirit of duality, the biggest blessing is that it's molded me into someone that I can truly say I'm proud of. But in the same time, torments me at night where I feel like I'm wrestling with the devil at night. I can't sleep. I'm relying on substance to help get me through those difficult times. I've, in a sense, neglected a little bit of my kids when they were really young because of it. I couldn't control my emotions. I've used it at times as an excuse to validate my behavior. And I want to be able to break free of it and to have control, but also not to be so hard on myself if I do have to reach for those aids to help me, because it doesn't matter how you feel, the pain is pain, it's real, and we still do need to function. And I used to work myself up so much about not sleeping that I would just, even if I did sleep, if it was under the influence of a cannabis high or not, I'd still wake up with this terrible draining feeling that I just was too tired to function. But I would go to work and I would pull through, and I'd get to the middle of the day when I was running purely on fumes and be like, wow, like I've pulled through. That was for a whole year, and I really pulled through. I was much stronger than I thought I was, but I'm ready to step out of that and start to really have faith now. And if I had come to you and said that, what is it that you would say?
So let's test it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to test your faith?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Start fasting.
Interesting. Elaborate on the fasting.
Start fasting and have only water until it's gone.
Physical fasting, or do you also mean, in a way, spiritual fasting too? No. In terms of, like, if there is something that isn't serving you, say you shop too much, you spend too much money on needless shit, that's a form of fasting too. But
I'm talking about food.
Specifically autophagy fasting.
Yep. Autophagy fasting. Your body is run right now, by divine power, Let that work. Let it get to work.
Yep. I did do a 3-day fast not long ago, and it was an incredible experience. I couldn't work at that time. I had to be at home. I said to my dad, I'm going to do a 3-day fast. I need to be at home. But it wasn't from a spiritual perspective. It was more scientific. And I already know that if you try to apply logic and a numerical kind of application to your life, like I need this many calories, I need this many hours sleep, I feel like you're going to be miserable. It has to be something you feel and experience. It can't be numerically calculated as a form of living. But having spoken to you, especially before this on the phone, about fasting, I feel like to go in again, but with a spiritual mindset more, okay, what was I doing when I was fasting before? I was watching TV, I was reading, but I wasn't praying, I wasn't meditating. I feel like that's elevates the experience. When you fast, do you then breath work, praying? Is that the best time to cultivate gratitude and abundance?
Yes, so whenever I fast, it's for spiritual reasons.
Yeah.
I done a 13-day fast.
Wow.
And at that time, I was still working. I was still going to work and all that, and like training a little bit.
Yeah.
But the whole purpose was to suffer for God. It was to get closer to God. So I done 13 days, but I was praying a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot. The whole day I was praying. And like, you can go through your day cutting hair and still pray.
Yeah. And I do.
I was meditating a lot, sitting in silence, spending a lot of time, as much time as I can, because I wasn't eating. If you don't eat, you got so much time for some reason.
When I did my 3-day fast, when I wasn't eating. First of all, it's like breaking down your from civilian to soldier. You got to break down that mindset.
Yeah.
And I remember when I'm not eating, first thing I want to do. Oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm not going to have the energy to do that. So what am I going to do? And then you do have so much more time, and you think, how am I going to fill this time? I got to fill it with something productive, because you're so receptive. You're like a sponge when you fast, and that 3 days, I can imagine 13 days. Wow. So when you've got that silence, and when you say you're praying, does that mean you're passively praying, or cultivating that through reading, through meditating, through watching something, or you mean like hands and knees in front of a cross praying?
Hands and knees.
Like full submission, like prostration.
Yeah, full. And then also, like, my whole day was just to get closer to God. So if I wasn't praying hands and knees, I was praying as I was walking or working, and I always just tried to remember God.
Yeah.
Always. It's natural for me. Like, God is always first topic that comes to mind.
Yeah.
There's no other thing, like, you can talk to him. So he's always, and I knew that, and I would just start talking to him, and I'm like, that's the reason why I left Islam, because they were like, God will never speak to you. Okay. The last person he spoke to was Prophet Muhammad,
and that's that.
And that's it. And they would say, like, why would he speak to you? Why would he speak to him? Like, why? What do you mean? He created me.
Yeah.
I'm his creation. He loves me.
Well, he's inside you. He's a part of you. You're created in his image. You have that power should you rise to the challenge of achieving that enlightenment.
Yeah.
Do you find, now that you're 6 weeks into your journey, but your mindset's shifting, do you see, looking back on your old belief systems, is it just riddled with hypocrisies? Or you just don't focus on it? That's old Ahmed and...
Yeah, no, I don't focus on it. Like, I see it when it comes up, but I just don't focus on it.
Don't focus on the interfaith politics.
No, you don't need to. Because, look, it's not to like bash Islam or anything,
Well,
but
no, definitely not.
Like, we could definitely shit here and bash Christianity.
Very much so.
Do you know what I mean? But it's just, for me in my life right now, and I'm a Christian that follows Jesus. That's all I know. I've had this big connection to Jesus from when I was a little kid, from 3, as like far as I can remember.
Yep.
So it's been Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Even though I was like a full-blown Muslim, I still had a big connection to Jesus. Went to church, and the Holy Spirit healed my shoulder and touched me and proved to me that Jesus is the way.
Yep.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here saying, that Jesus is the way. I would still be too logical.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know right now. But
no, it'd be very interesting to revisit that in a year or a couple months' time to see how you've changed, but also follow along your journey. I feel like that's one of the beauties of social media now, is when you're not using it for just let's just be blunt and say fucking masturbation. You're using it to actually help people and be better. That makes it a much more positive place. When I stumble across pages like yours and I see guys in the gym, how to help people, scripture, I think, yes, because a lot of people don't want to hear that. But at least on social media, you will attract the people that want to see it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think like so beautiful about what you're doing, what I'm doing, and what the people we're attracting now. But in closing, I wanted to share another quote with you from the existential philosopher Viktor Frankl. He says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. And how has that rung true in your life, do you think? You wanted to save your mum. The only way you could do that was to become who you are now. Even if you couldn't physically save her then, it takes on a much more of a spiritual meaning, not so much the damsel in distress saving, but to save her to save yourself. Don't put her through any more hardship and become the person you need to be to make your mum proud. Do you feel like that is accurate to your situation, or would you give that information to someone that came to you asking for advice?
Never really thought of it.
No, that's why I love existential philosophy. It's very much of the why we're here and what's the purpose. But when we're no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. speaks a lot about adaptation. And I hate the word evolution. It's adaptation.
I love adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you always need to adapt to your environment. It's just shown. Like,
100%.
I don't know if it's you adapt or you get transformed.
I feel like they're both definitely synonyms,
Yeah.
but that lends itself to a very clever kind of comparison to beast mastery and adaptation, because what are beasts, animals, the masters of adapting to their environment? You can put any of those things in a situation and they're going to defend tooth and nail, but even then, having seen people adapt to situations they never could have before. And Marcus Aurelius always said, own the hand that you're dealt and let it become a part of you. And to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't change what I've gone through for anything, because I know that without it, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. I wouldn't have the drive to be able to create an environment where I can bring on people like yourself that have a message to share.
Yeah.
So when it all comes down to it and your kids are grown and all your ventures have become fruitful, even though they already are, but they've borne more fruit, what lasting legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to be remembered? Or what mark do you want to leave on the world?
You know, I used to always want to leave a legacy and be remembered, but I don't want to be remembered. I just want to do my life purpose as help as much people as I can right now. Literally, just if I can help as much people, eventually change the world, that's all I want. I don't need to be known.
You don't need to be known, you don't need to be remembered, you just need your work
I'm nothing,
to be remembered.
bro. I'm nothing.
Just,
Like,
in a sense, we are a speck in time, aren't we?
yeah, like, life's amazing and beautiful, but like needing to be remembered is the ego.
Absolutely. And it kind of, in a sense, I believe, takes away from the beauty of mortality, because wanting to be remembered is not, I think, truly accepting death, because you want a part of you to be left here, whereas, no, I want to transcend, I want to go up there. I don't want to be left here. And having said that, that reminds me of a very beautiful quote. Are you familiar with Homer, with the Iliad, the Trojan War?
Yeah.
Achilles says to Briseis, the priestess, he says, I'll tell you something they don't tell you in your temple, which we can relate to this point to be church or your house of worship. God, or the gods, they envy us.
Why?
They envy us because we're mortal, because any moment might be our last. Life is more beautiful because we are doomed. You will never be more beautiful, more logical, more perfect than you are right now, and you will never be here again. And I feel like to be so hell-driven on to live a long time and to leave a legacy, it kind of brushes over that. Just be happy and leave your mark. I'm happy to leave it through my kids. My kids can grow up to be half the person I want to be, then I'll be happy with that being my mark, you know?
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
I said that at my wedding speech, actually.
Yeah. No, but see, this is the thing too. Also, but people forget they're gonna die,
They do, don't they?
so they're always worried. I love to remind people you're gonna die. Literally.
Gives a lot more zest to your, it just gives your actions more purpose. For me, going through this now with my illness, it doesn't put it into perspective in terms of you might die, because I know I'm going to be okay. I know that there's nothing malevolent there. There's a bigger purpose for me. I haven't filled it yet, but that's not the end. And if it is, well, I'm very happy with what I've got here. But it's just interesting. It just gives you so much more drive. Well, I said, well, if this is the case, if I'm slowly getting worse and worse and worse, or it's going to be happening until I can master my mind, and as you said, fast and pray to the point where I can be healed, whether that be externally, internally, faith-wise, or whatever, it gives me so much more joy. I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy talking to people, even if it is just fleeting conversation, small talk between clients. You have a connection to them, and every day is different. I don't always rock up to work with the best intention or mindset, because we are human. We go through these issues, but faith is something I'm definitely cultivating now to the point where I'm really enjoying my existence. Whereas before I was ill, I wasn't really. Do you know what I mean? It's only now that it's all been put into perspective for me that I can really appreciate it.
You are ungrateful.
I was ungrateful, but I wasn't even aware that I was ungrateful. Do you know? And now that I have been practicing gratitude, morning breath work, all that kind of thing, just inviting it into you, you've come into my life. Tane, your friend, I've had a good chat with him. I've met all these people are asking me now, hey, I've seen your podcast, I would love to come on. And I said, oh, it's happening. They're drawing towards me. It's happening. Just keep doing it. And my wife said something very interesting. She goes, you study philosophy, you love Stoicism, you love Christ, you love theology, you love all of that. You're expecting this change to happen overnight. She goes, look what you've achieved. You're not going to master Stoicism. You're not going to master the principles of Jesus overnight. She goes, but in the past 5 years, you've done more than any other person have. You're a stronger person than I am. And I feel like that's a great place to leave it. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a work in progress. And if you're one of those people that do believe that your soul is eternal and you're going to come back again to relearn the same lesson until you get it right, it will take lifetimes to learn that lesson. But I feel like in 5 years, done a pretty bloody good job, and I feel like in your lifetime you have as well.
Yeah, no, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks or closing thoughts?
Nah, no, just be proud, bro.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself down ever.
No.
Just be proud. Like, you know, I've known you for such a very short time, but to know what you're going through and what you're doing, bro, it's amazing. Honestly,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It is amazing. Most people would have just turned into a victim.
I was falling into that abyss, and I knew I was, and I was using cannabis to mask that. I was corrupting a very spiritual plant and using it to mask emotions which had to be observed and dealt with. I have a much better relationship with it now, but when you really psychoanalyze your situation, you realize, and I know that you can attest to this, it's just as simple as just switching the script. If someone came up to you and said, I can't sleep, I go to work tired, what do you tell them? Oh, well.
Change the story.
Change the story, exactly.
It really is. I told my wife this yesterday. She was like, when I leave the house, I feel like there's a big burden that came off me. I'm like, what do you mean, change the script? Like, you only say that because being a mum can be very stressful sometimes.
Yeah.
She's like, the second I step out this door, I feel like there's a big burden. I change the story. You know this. She knows this. I'm like, change the story. That's all it is.
That's all it is. It really is that simple, guys. But I think that's a good place to leave it for now. Until next time, Ahmed, I really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you, bro.
I've learned a lot from you in the short time I've known you. And I know that whoever's drawn to this video, for whatever reason, they'll get a lot out of it as well. So thank you.
Thank you, my man.
Cut it, Nick.